Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Let everyone know. Let us know if we're live. We are here in Mobile, Alabama. We got a Senior Bowl Day 1 recap coming out, so we'll try not to repeat too many talking points from that. That'll be out for you guys to listen to or watch once this live stream is over. I'm here with Justin Pennick and the Football Grump of the Just Giants podcast. How's everybody doing? So we want to answer some questions from the chat because we've been going nonstop. A hectic senior first day of the Senior Bowl. Couple of just like logistic things, not even talking about player analysis, which we'll get into here in a second, is that it's not ran by one coaching staff, which I feel like there's a little bit of disorganization. Also, this is very much like media some clowns complaint right here. But I was losing my mind today at when they were doing O-line, D-line, the music as always, the O-line, D-line one-on-ones, and the entire like NFL personnel would just gather around it and make a circle, and just totally like block it off. Where it's like I can't even see these dudes' footwork, and it's hard to get clips. And so I was very frustrated today. But it was
trying to do their job.
But that was only the first practice, right?
No, they did the second practice
did they?
too.
I tried to get some like arrow views, so I'm gonna hook you up with that tonight, and you're gonna have those 1v1 reps tomorrow morning.
All right, so let us get some questions in here. Grump, who was the guy who you came away from the most impressed with?
So I came in here with 3 wide receivers I thought were really, really good, and that was Hutchinson, Rice, and Dell. And Dell is the only one that I came away from the practice feeling like, yes, he is very good.
And even he weighed in at 160-something pounds.
And he also measured in 2 inches shorter than college had him listed, which we always see that kind of shit, and it doesn't really matter. But there's something about the 2 inches from 5'10" to 5'8" as opposed to 6'3" to 6'1" or whatever. Those 2 inches are important, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like that, you don't see guys succeed that well, and obviously he's very fast. And we see those shorter, fast guys kind of thrive down here. Calvin Austin last year out of Memphis, and even the year before, a guy who hasn't really done anything in the NFL, Demetric Fulton out of UCLA, but he was kind of a running back, wide receiver convert. So we'll get into all of it. So I want to answer questions. Gabe asked, how did the Army linebacker look today? Who was Andre Carter, who was like an outside linebacker for them? He was somebody that I was like, he was somebody that I was going to, hold on, let me pull up the chat. He was somebody that I was going to let this week do a lot of my evaluation on him. You know, for a lot of these guys, it's, you know, you rely on the film and you could see, I honestly think guys can drop their stock more than they can rise it here. But he was very, very bad versus the run. I mean, he's very slim. You know, he's tall, 6'6", but he got bullied in the run, and it wasn't just against like DeJuan Jones, who was 150 pounds more than him. Like he had issues in the run game, so that was pretty disappointing because I was excited to watch him down here.
But that was also your worry with him, right?
Yeah, that was always the worry with him. Like I was very, very excited to watch him. And he just didn't show out, and his pass rush ability wasn't great, and he was playing UConn and Navy and those schools, and he just didn't have the day that we hoped to get from him. Justin, who was your guy? I know who your guy was, and I saw Daniel Jeremiah talking him up out of Wisconsin.
Yes, the interior defensive lineman. Number 95 from this practice.
Keanu Benton, I think, right?
I'm calling this Senior Bowl this year the impossible, like, last names Senior Bowl. Like, there's so many guys where it's just, how do you pronounce that guy's last name?
He was, I mean, that's
just his name.
Yeah, I mean, Benton's a pretty hard name to pronounce.
No, Keanu. First
name. Like Keanu Reeves.
I still don't know the Princeton kid's last name that Robert Schmidt said.
Ivo Shivas.
Yeah.
That's probably wrong.
That
Andre
sounded
Ivashivas.
close, though.
Yes, but I love Andre, even at a Prince. We'll talk about him, but yeah, I mean, the Benton had like the cleanest swim move of the entire day, where it was 1v1. It was the first practice. He's with the national team, and he did a nice tight little swim move. I think it was just the cleanest 1v1 rep that we had all day, and then we posted on socials and stuff. So that was fun.
Powerful hands, and he put up good production at Wisconsin. Like he had 10 tackles for a loss this year, 4.5 sacks. He lined up at nose tackle mostly at Wisconsin. But I think like he's very athletic for the nose tackle spot, and
Yeah.
then so I think he's going to slide out the 3 tech, and that's where you did see that rep. I think was on the
Yeah,
outside
he's
shoulder of the guard.
330. I don't think he has like the size of, or not even 330. Excuse me.
He's listed at 317. I didn't see his weight. Do we have a roster sheet on us?
Yes.
National team number 95.
Yeah. So, but he's just got an explosive first step and allows him to fire into gaps and make big plays. Not the strongest guy in the world, but he has quick hands. So he's someone who I think could come in and have some pass rush ability from the nose tackle 3 tech spot. And I thought he did pretty well in the run game too. And they have him
6'3" to 312.
Yeah, 6'3", 312. So
Yeah.
an inch shorter and 5 pounds less than what his roster spot, the roster sheet says. But I kind of see him as a rotational player, but those guys are needed, and we've seen it this year with the Giants. It's like you need rotational defensive tackles who can come in
100%.
and be good for them.
100%. Yep. It's like one of the biggest needs on the team.
Yeah.
Is there somebody that you guys felt you missed out on today that you want to key in on tomorrow?
Yeah, Isaiah McGuire out of Missouri, and then Isaiah, he was the main one. It's like I really, really need to like focus in on him because I didn't see him much today. Like that would probably be my main one. Alden Klee says, how did the Miami cornerback look? Feel like he could be a great pick in the mid to late rounds. I think he's skyrocketing up. I even saw someone today had like, saying Daniel Jeremiah had him like in the first round. He was amazing, and I'm someone who watches kind of cornerback. Like I want to see how you do up in press. And on the American team, which was mostly like the SEC South schools, there's no more formal North-South, but northern schools, they were pressing like wide receivers up, and we were excited for that wide receiver group, and they were pressing them up. I mean, Tyreek Stevenson had the best play of the day for me. Like it stands out. I went and put it on Twitter, where the receiver out of LSU, Darius Davis, number 12, he's running an over route, and man, he just flips his hips and gets right underneath it. And you can hear in the clip people yelling at the quarterback, like, throw it. Like the quarterback just didn't even throw it, which never happens in one-on-ones. It is like there's always like some type of separation, and he just totally wins the route and gets underneath it. And he looked good when they were working some press man drills that where they weren't running routes or anything. They were just like, all right, let's work on press earlier in the practice. And he dominated in those. He is somebody who I'm sure Wink Martindale, who we saw, he was really the only Giants staffer we saw a ton of today on the sideline.
Yep.
That he's got his eyes on, even though Wink kind of spent more time on the edges.
Yep. But,
and Jerome Henderson was out there too. I think he's got his eyes on him. I know this is JM football, but yeah, Stevenson looks like Woolen. Yeah, he's only 6 foot, Woolen's 6'4", but he has 33-inch arms, which is bizarre. So
Julius Brents is 6'3", and I thought he had a pretty good day. The Kansas State corner. He's a little bit physical to the point where I don't know how much of that's going to transfer to the NFL, but he had a really good one-on-one with Dontavian Wicks, who is also he's not shy about throwing some hands into corners, whatever. The two of them kind of battled for it, and he came up with a pick on it. And I don't know if any of you guys saw that, because I don't think it was by either of you, but as soon as he caught it, he just like kind of yelled. He knew he had a really good rep there. Yeah. I'm going to key on him going forward because he was not really in my sights coming into today.
There was how did Keon White look? They actually moved him on the interior for some one-on-ones, which is, I guess you could use him there in some packages, but he didn't look natural like going up against guards. Like he is kind of a speed to power guy. When you line up on the interior, you remove that space that he uses so well, and he's got powerful hands, but he kind of still needs to use his hands, which you need on the interior to get lateral. So he had some good plays, but I think he's on the edge. Like if you got to teach him up and coach him up to do some of those like situational spots there. What are your thoughts on Isaiah Foskey? Kalen Sanderson asks. His critique is he didn't really use his hands at Notre Dame, and it didn't seem like he really did that. I thought he used his hands pretty well at Notre Dame. The issue is he didn't have like that great bend around the edge. He had a great rep today, I think we posted, where he gives a stutter step to the Michigan offensive tackle, and then just bam, just brings the punch, puts him on his ass, and like those are the reps you look for in those one-on-ones. Is do you have that element of power? Because in those one-on-ones, eventually the D lineman's going to get like some penetration or get around the corner at some point. But it's like you don't see guys like really flash their power in there, and tackles are so worried about the speed that I like that he did that. I gave him that little stutter, and then bam, just brought the hammer down on him.
What's interesting too is, for context, Ryan Hayes, who you're talking about, that Michigan tackle, he put Andre Carter on his ass at one point today.
I actually thought that Michigan, I thought he looked aggressive. I thought he looked all right today.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I think I was watching him last year, maybe. I think maybe he was draft eligible last year, and I looked at him a little bit, and I was like, I don't know if he's that good. So I came into today with those same expectations, and I thought he looked pretty good today, but
Yeah.
I didn't spend that much time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to.
How much
bold.
did you watch any of KJ Henry, the edge out of Clemson, coming into this?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So my worry is with him is that, like, and I may do a video on him at some point, is he has a lot of pass rush wins, right? But they're almost always like lateral, like working outside, going in. And I still think he needs to add some weight to become a good edge defender. I worried that like he's gonna get overdrafted by some team because of that outside in ability, but it's like that's not what you do in the NFL. Like, you're allowed to rush outside in, but at the end of the day, it's about how can you work the edge? How can you bring power to the edge? How can you bend around the corner?
You don't have that room.
Speed? How do you use your hands? Yeah, and you just don't have the freedom. Unless you're TJ Watt, you don't have that. Coaches are not going to give you that freedom. So, like, he had a good day, but I don't want to see him do what he's great at, which is working outside in and working laterally. I want to see him set the edge. I want to see him try and work the corner, use his hands, because I think those things translate. Like the outside in stuff, it's some of the most fun stuff to watch on film when you're doing these draft things. Like, I love it. It's fun to watch. I used to really fall in love with it. Like, if a guy worked outside in, I'm like, this is my guy. But the more and more like you watch NFL on Sundays, it's like guys don't have the freedom to work like that. And that's something I want to see him work on. And I would hope that I would like the coaches on that team to like really like, hey, let's work the corner. Like, we know you can work laterally. Like, this isn't all about one-on-ones. This is about impressing scouts and showing them what you can do. Joe Rozelle, who's a great guy. I actually want to have him on the Jam Football channel. He trains a lot of the guys in the draft. From what I saw, Carter from Army is not soup yet physically. The West Point diet isn't NFL friendly, by the way, but the run is where he's got to grow power. Also, what's up, Bobby? Joe, I appreciate you. Also, I've been talking. Joe gave me a tip that some of the NFL staffers want to move out of Mobile, and I was very frustrated. And I've talked to other people today, and that seems to be true.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, why? Do you have an idea?
They just don't want to be in Alabama. They want to be in Las Vegas.
They don't want to be in Alabama?
They want to be in Vegas. They're not like us. They're not simple men.
They don't want to go to Cockeye Charlie's across the street and smoke?
No. I think you're the only person who wanted to go there.
Yeah.
Is John Michael Smith's a Linderbaum level prospect? I know he's a little heavier, but they both seem pretty dominant. I think they're very different players. Where Linderbaum is the undersized, he can move really well, works his leverage. John Michael Smith is more like your traditional, power center. He had one of maybe the best interior offensive line rep today. I think it was even against Zach Pickens out of South Carolina, who I was very impressed with today, where he comes off the ball and bam, punches. And so the defensive tackle gets his hands on him, which is hard to do in these one-on-ones because these guys are using their hands like they don't always do in a game situation. Gets his hands on him, and then he works the bull, and he goes to that 2-hop step. If you watch the O-line videos I talk about those a lot. Goes to that 2-hop step and just stonewalls them. And he only got pushed back about 3 yards, which for those one-on-one drills is amazing. Like John Michael Smith's, he's actually somebody I talked to you about in November when the Giants were in that losing streak, and I was like, let's watch some Senior Bowl stuff. He's just a fun watch, a little bit of an older guy. I think he might be 24 when the season starts, obviously a senior. But I kind of want some athleticism at that center position, but I also need a good player, and I thought he was very good today.
Does that age worry you? Or do you think that's like more position oriented?
I hate to cop out, but I feel like it's a different case for everybody.
Okay. No, that's I think that's fair because I don't really know how I feel about it myself. We were talking about it yesterday, right?
Like if there's a 22-year-old player who, or a 21-year-old player who's raw and needs to work on some stuff, but he's got the athleticism, I like it. If you're a 22-year-old you're a 23-year-old who needs that stuff, then it's like, okay, are you going to develop that stuff? But if you're a 23-year-old who knows how to use your hands like John Michael Smith, knows how to work the hop step, knows how to work leverage and has that hand strength, that's where I'm like, I'm not too worried about that.
I like this question.
Grump, did Rashee Rice meet expectations?
I would say that he just fell under them for me, my expectations. I thought, I mean, this was a test for him, right? Like he's coming from SMU, which is not always facing the best defenses. I thought he was going to come out here and really shine, and he came out here and he just looked like he belonged. But it was day one. All of the quarterbacks here are not great. He was facing a lot more press coverage. Like, wow. He faced a lot of off coverage in SMU, just respecting his speed. That was not the case today, and he did struggle gaining separation at times, but not completely. I thought he looked fine. He looked like he belonged, but he was the star power name coming in today at the wide receiver spot, and he did not feel it. If I told you
he looked good, he didn't look like a star out
yeah,
there.
exactly. So I would say he didn't meet them, but it's not like he was horrible or had a bad
No, and
day.
he had like some of the better receiving plays. Like,
Sure.
there was that one-on-one route where he gets inside leverage, breaks outside, and then bam, gets him on that dig and got a lot of separation. That was against the South Carolina corner, Darius Rush, who is 6'2", long dude. Like I really liked him, and that was against him. By the way, Darius Rush, South Carolina corner, 6'2", long. I just said that. That, put 2 and 2 together with what the Giants are looking for in their corners. What other questions do we want to? Let's see. A lot of questions about the Princeton wide receiver.
Yes.
How did the wide receiver Onje Osivas from Princeton look today? I like him as a 5th round, maybe 6 if slips, but I bet he will go
I think
higher.
he's going higher. I think teams are going to bet on the athleticism. I think teams saw that, what Christian Watson was able to do last year. And I know even North Dakota State is different from Princeton. I even like that as a jump up, but I think they're going to look at that. Andre was built in a lab. He's 6'3". And I mean, Robert Schmitz talked about it on our Senior Bowl Day 1 recap video that will be coming out soon. I mean, there's rumors of this guy like possibly breaking the 40-yard dash record. He's 6'3". I mean, this is a guy that really is built in a lab. He had sticky hands. There were some good catches that he made today down the field. Even in some team stuff. And the biggest thing for guys that are coming from small schools, this is just for any prospect. When you're coming from a small school, how are you going to do against better competition? How are you going to do when stronger, bigger guys are playing you in press? And he seemed to do all right, and he had some flash plays. So he could be this year's Christian Watson. Maybe not like 2nd round, borderline 1st round, but I don't think he's lasting till like 5th, 6th round.
He's just got to work on those releases. Like there's times where it's like they were pressing and some of the wide receivers are having issues. He got muddied up really bad on some of the team reps that I was watching. Rick asked a great question. How significantly did the average to below average QB play affect your ability to evaluate? Honestly, it didn't make much of a difference because
the first practice it was impossible. Jaron Hall at one point threw the ball backwards. I'm just going to throw that out there.
But here's the thing: is when you're in one-on-ones, it's like you're just like I'm not even looking at the quarterback at all.
Well,
especially because we're not evaluating any of these quarterbacks. Like last year, we were evaluating all the quarterbacks. Like all the quarterbacks were down here.
Sure.
I'm not even.
And they were all draft worthy.
Yeah, and I was like last year's QB class was the best that I've seen here in 3 years. Mac Jones was probably the best just overall quarterback that's been down here since I've been here.
I'll disagree a little bit though.
Here's where maybe in different years in team drill, a lot of times in team drill, the pass rush just gets there, right? It's just the offensive line is discombobulated. I think I said that word right. And they held up today. Like there was not great pass rush on either team in those team drills. Zach Pickens made some plays. So I think to me, the quarterback play didn't have much impact on me. So, but I guess it did with you. Well,
I watched everything all the way through the catch. So there were some passes that were so bad that both the corner or whatever, the DB and the wide receiver gave up. So it was way more prevalent in the first practice. I want to preface that we said that the quarterback play was really bad. Part of that is because one of the quarterbacks in the American team is from Shepherd. We didn't know anything about him. It was not that bad.
Shepherd?
Shepherd?
That's a school?
Sure.
Fantastic.
It looked like a Colorado State helmet. It had
I thought it was Colorado State until you told me.
Yeah, which Robert Schmitz told me. So if this is all wrong, the trail goes that way.
There you go.
But but yeah, I want to evaluate all the way through the catch. And with contested catches, with press corners, it's important for me to see that hand-eye coordination with DBs, the ability to break up the ball without interfering with the receiver. It's important for me to see the strong hands of a receiver pull a ball away from tight coverage. You don't see any balls airing 10 yards over their heads or in the dirt. So I don't want to say it ruined the evaluation of them like the rain did last year, but it did affect it a little bit. I would say it affected my ability to evaluate, but not overly. I could still see all the route running, all the releases, all that's fine.
Yeah. Christy asked who was the best inside linebacker today. We don't really focus. It's hard to focus in on linebackers here because their one-on-one drills suck. Like it's just basically like routes with running backs, which is just even if they like get beat, it's like I'm not really judging you off of that because it's very rare where you like don't have any support system on those. But Cam Jones out of Indiana.
That's what everyone was saying.
He made a couple plays in the run game where he shed a blocker, stacked it, bam, he popped him, and he dropped it, but he did have an interception right in his hands too. So Cam Jones out of Indiana was somebody that I thought flashed a little bit, and then I guess he's a converted safety out of Sacramento State. Marte, he was wearing number 0 when they did those one-on-one drills at the end, where it's like they just did 4 position groups, so I kind of and like Dan Campbell did last year. He made an amazing play on like a running back choice route, and he just totally undercut it and got underneath it and broke it up. And then the offense had to do 15 push-ups because of it. So I thought he did some good stuff. He's somebody like, okay, Sacramento, some guy out of Sacramento State changing the safety. It's got to be somebody that I watch and keep an eye on.
I don't know how the hell I'm going to look at film of him.
Yeah. No, I interviewed a former linebacker out of Sacramento State on Simpleman Radio, Darnell Sankey.
Darnell Sankey.
He's not in the league anymore.
That shit is stanky.
Let's see. What do we got?
Producer Jeff didn't like that. Didn't like that one.
I was kind of disappointed we didn't see more Luke Musgrave popping out today.
Yeah. What's the Allen out of Clemson?
Davis.
No, I got to get that right. Davis Allen. I liked him. They were using him as like an H-back, like letting him wham. And like you said, he laid somebody out.
Yeah, he
made some tough catches. Like there was a ball down by his feet. He goes and gets it. I like him. I think he's I think he falls a little bit in the Daniel. There's nothing that's just going to totally wow you, but he does everything pretty solid. And I think those guys just last in the NFL.
Disagree. I think his measurables are better. Right? Isn't he like 6'5.5" or something like that?
Let's see.
I am holding it, right?
But he makes we talked about it yesterday. He high points the ball and he catches the ball, which Bellinger does pretty well. Bellinger's kind of a technician of catching the ball.
But I would say he's a little bit more steady of a blocker than Bellinger, and probably maybe a little bit worse as a wide receiver. Maybe a little bit more unnatural.
Yeah. How was Jalen Duncan today? He's an offensive tackle out of Maryland. He's somebody I'm going to watch and be like, can this guy move to guard? I hate the whole move that hackles a guard, but I'm going to watch him because I love his footwork. I love his anchor. Like he's just a guy I like. I like watching him. And he's someone I'm going to like. I'm going to do a video on him and like kind of focus in on like, can this guy slide in? Because his footwork, like he just looks calm. Like he knows how to play the position. He knows how to beat guys, and he looked really good out there today.
Do you think 6'5" is too tall to play guard or no?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Did Puka Nacua create any separation? That's the wide receiver out of BYU. So they were playing a lot of zone, but he understood how to work leverage. Like they were playing like a cover 3 corner, and you saw like he knew what he was doing. He was going to work that out route, and he gets inside leverage and he opens up the hips of that corner, and then bam, pops out, and then the quarterback hits him. He found ways to get open in zone and find the hole in place.
He looked very comfortable today.
He was with his quarterback too.
Yes, he was working with his own quarterback, which definitely helped as well. But also, he wasn't going up against the same corners that we saw Rashee Rice go up against. Not even close.
Yeah.
So,
but he was the one out of the national team that stood out the most. And
absolutely.
Jaden Reed also. I mean, he's just going to be a solid football player. The wide receiver out of Michigan State. I liked him a lot too. I think he clocked in at like the fastest time ran by anybody on their trackers, even though people aren't always getting the full speed.
We didn't mention Michael Wilson either from Stanford. I thought he looked okay. My bigger concern with him, I don't think is anything I'm going to see here. It's just, can he be healthy?
Yeah.
So,
what do you think of Elijah Higgins? Because he's a bigger dude. Some people in the tight end.
I don't think he's big enough for that. He's only like 6'3".
which is why I don't know if he's going to be successful in the NFL. He's a wide receiver out of Stanford,
Yeah.
6'3", 230 or something.
Yeah.
I have 235.
And I think if his role would have to be beef up because he just does not get off the line of scrimmage as a wide receiver.
Don't know
You
if he's
see him
gonna
like
make it.
use some good footwork on his releases too, but it's like it just takes too long. There's too many steps, and then even when he does that, it's not like he's like okay, he stacked the guy, he can use his big body. He's still like got a guy trailing in his hip. Where I was excited to see him what he can do down here. And they listed him as wide receiver / tight end on their roster. Originally.
I just don't see that happening.
Yeah,
I think that's real life.
I think he might be victim of being a tweener.
I think he'll be great in the USFL.
Wow.
That's not an insult. He can be a backup and we'll never hear about him if you want, or he could be really good in the USFL. It's up to him. But I don't think he can cut it in the NFL with the speed.
I'm surprised that they didn't just even try and line him up at tight end and see if he can block or, because he won't be able to. But
no, I don't think so.
NFL teams do have the fascination of we're going to line you up at tight end because you're not a wide receiver.
He's also not fast enough to do like the running back kind of thing.
I think he's fast. He's one of those like Giants fans, Evan Ingram, where you're fast. You're not quick, but you're fast when you actually get going, when you get to full speed. So I do think he's fast, but I don't think he's quick.
We'll go for another 5 minutes or so. I want to know what you thought of Jonathan Mingo, because when I was watching him do some drills, he looked really smooth. But Robert Smith was saying like he kind of got bullied up a little bit.
He's interesting because he did get bullied up a little bit, but those guys were banging around, and he's already a guy who likes to bang around. When he was delivering the blows, he looked okay. When he was getting hit, it's like he didn't know how to recover, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, Robert Schmidt said during team drills, it looked like Jonathan Mingo was being Jonathan Mingo, the bully that he is, the physical guy. And then there's the individual drills, which you kind of think that you would shine, 1v1 going up against corners. But he was struggling a little bit there. That's what Robert Schmidt said.
Fullback RJ Harold asked, let's talk about what's his name out of Oklahoma, Braden Willis.
I mean, him as a fullback, I think is interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that myself.
Can you see him in the H-back role?
Yeah, of course. But I think in today's NFL, almost your tight end is either that or Y, right?
Yeah, but like last year they tried to get Jeremiah Hall also out of Oklahoma, and it's like, well, he doesn't have any like split out like tape that works, except for when the Oklahoma system just leaves guys wide. Where Braden, I think he can split out and run the route tree a little bit.
Yes.
It's not amazing, but he's got that speed. He's got more speed than your traditional H-back, and he has that ability to block, like his footwork in the blocking, and he just explodes into those blocks, and he keeps his feet moving, and he rolls his hips through, so he can make some good plays. Christian Gianetti says, do you believe in draft value? For instance, drafting Payne Durham in 5th round is better than Musgrave in the 3rd round. I won't really answer this question, but Payne Durham is somebody, check it out on the Senior Bowl Day 1 recap, who we actually talked like a 2-minute conversation about those type of guys, but he was like, he's a solid blocker. We were watching his film come in and like, this guy is somebody who can block.
I believe in draft value. I don't like that I don't like those players being compared there.
Yeah. So tomorrow, let's talk through this. I'm thinking about just
not going.
That I'm thinking about.
So I want to watch the wide receivers, right? Like they're fun. I want to watch these wide receivers as cornerbacks. Should I just stick with the O-line, D-line, focus in, get all in on that, or try and do both? Because when I try and do both, I feel like I'm losing my mind. It's like, it's like I'm trying to do 2 things and I'm not doing one.
I feel like you got a good grasp of wide receiver DBs. And I feel like 3 of you did get a good grasp of wide receiver DBs. So I honestly think tomorrow you should go all in on wide receiver D-line and then see where you are at the end of day 2 and see where you need to touch on.
I want to watch Tyreek Stevenson out of Miami more. Like he's somebody I really
Do you want to flip then? Do you want to watch wide receivers DBs? I'll check out the trenches and we'll just flip responsibilities.
I'm just like the trench guy, but it's like I want to see everything. Honestly, it's too crowded now. Like they just opened it up to the general public, which is fine.
I was wondering if you were going to bring this up.
There was professional autograph seekers there.
It was kind of
and
gross.
like pimping out their kid to try and get. It's like, and nobody was signing them either.
I don't think a single thing got signed.
Nothing got signed unless and they were yelling at like Jack Del Rio, like Jack, bro, Coach Flores. It's like these defensive coordinators are not going to come over and sign your stuff.
Also, leave them alone. Like they're at work right now. Like they're literally supposed to be watching this stuff.
it was pretty wild.
Like,
Dude,
before the combine.
I don't want to rat out the guy, but I watched a player was putting on his helmet, acknowledged one of the very much older gentlemen like calling for his autograph, and gave the funniest face and was just like,
yeah.
I don't know what was going on. I don't really dig that.
Did you see NFL Plus basically like stream the whole thing?
No, come on.
Yeah.
Why did I fly here?
They stream
This shit's not cheap.
The whole thing. But we're having a good time. Tomorrow I think is going to be a lot better for us. It's like we know how to navigate everything that we're seeing from day one. It's a lot different than last year. And then obviously I'll be on. You said to me, like, do you wish that COVID was back for the Senior Bowl? And I was like, yes. Like, COVID Senior Bowl was the best. It was like me and 60 people here, and the field was wide open, and you could see everything. And I could literally do both. Like, I was able to be like, wide receiver, cornerback duo, O-line, D-line, both. So
I don't know if people really understand like the amount of running around that happens. Like these drills go on, and then there's like a quick everybody, and sometimes you're going from one end zone to the other. And that sounds like, oh, okay, just walk over there. But there's like 55 other people and you're kind of just navigating. They all walk at different speeds. They're talking. It's not that easy to move around back and forth. And then you walk all the way to the one side and you're like, oh, they're doing special teams. I'm going to go sit down. Like it's not that easy to follow the practice. And this year was a little bit more chaotic, I would say, in the morning.
And it's hard to find a place. Like I like to stand and watch. And this year it's like you can't stand because you're going to be standing in front of somebody. And that's
always a problem with you.
So we'll and that's the thing. I have to watch out for it anyways. But it's like, all right, I couldn't any place to stand except for up in the high level, then you couldn't see, blah blah blah. So all right, so we're gonna end this 32 minute. Maybe tomorrow we'll go a little longer. I think tomorrow's coverage is going to be a lot better. Honestly, I didn't love today's coverage. So tomorrow's coverage is going to be.
Day one is always like feeling out, like what's the vibe of the practice going to be like, and shit like that.
I'm very excited. I want to watch Tyreek Stevenson so bad. We got to get clips on Tyreek Stevenson because he may be my I want that guy in the second round. So, you can just tell Jeff to write it.
Well, no, a mental note.
Tyreek Stevenson.
Who is he?
Cornerback out of Miami.
Cornerback out of Miami. He is on the thumbnail of the Senior Bowl Day 1 recap video. That I guess what? YouTube still hasn't processed it.
All right. We appreciate you guys. We will be back tomorrow. We will have, I give you all the coverage from it, posting clips, another Senior Bowl Day 2 recap on the Jam Football, and then live streaming as well. So we appreciate you guys. We'll see you on the next one.